So we're here and we're back. It is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And so with that, we have the Legacy Project here today. I got my dad, Albert Chavez, here. And this one's going to be very special. We're just recapping how it was during Thanksgiving. We call it Thanksgiving leftovers. This is us because our family had a really, really crucial and a really transformative week. Honestly, it was the first time that me and my family, my dad, my mom, and the extended family and newcomers into our lives really all gelled together and vibed as one. And with that, there was a lot of differences. There was a lot of change, but everyone went with the flow. And so we're kind of just going to digest that this week and just what it really meant for us. And we're going to kind of just reflect and just share our piece on what we thought it was. So I have a question just to start off with this. What did it mean for you this week to really have something different that 10 years ago we wouldn't have even thought of, that you and mom would be in the same room? And then we'll also dive down later what that means for Christmas time as well.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question. And so, and I said it in my post, I wish a lot of you could see what we are seeing, like from the outside. Albert and I are witnessing and experiencing. And just a little background too. I experienced this for the first time with Kaylee when she came in town in July. What I mean by that is this: prior to Kaylee coming down, when the kids, Albert specifically and Kaylee, would come out of town, because Kaylee's in Florida, Albert's in Southern California, when they would come in town for the holidays or occasions, they would go to mom's house for a couple of days, my house for a couple of days, and we'd kind of divide and conquer, do our own thing. And that it's been like that for a few years, and it's been great because we've gotten to gel, because I've gotten to kind of reconstruct our relationships together individually. So it was perfect. And so when Kaylee came in town in July, it was the first time that myself, Albert's mother, her husband, his son, and my daughter, that we all spent the whole time together while she was in town. So I got to experience it with Kaylee, and it was profound because we went paddleboard and all these things together, where before they would have been done individually and we'd have our own memories. Mm-hmm. And what really came out of that, I remember your mom and I had a conversation, I think Eric was there too, was that she had the same feeling I did, which was there was a fear of missing out. And she's like, I just hated the fact that, you know, when they'd come in town, they're with me 3 hours and they go to your house. I want to spend all my time with the kids. So us doing this is great. So there was this commonality. So to answer your question about you specifically, this was really different because it was actually during the holiday season, which things get very busy, and sometimes get the busyness. We try to do so much because you're in town, and I didn't know how that all was going to happen. And then we had a guest come in town with you, and then I had some stuff going on. So it was new variables that were in place. And then we're also trying to plan time with you, incorporating the project we're doing here, and then making sure everybody still felt like they had an opportunity to visit. So for me, this one was really special, dude, because again, coming from the fact where you and I were just a few years ago to where we became men together, and then we explored an opportunity to go on a little trip together, and then we came up with this, and then now we're spending the family time. For me, it was one of the most memorable holidays that I have ever had with you specifically, and your mom. Now, I had a lot of them, but this one was just different because the dynamic has shifted so much to where both of us, both your parents were very secure where we're at in our life, and you're secure in your life. So we have three secure individuals who have come together to where it's no longer about what was, right? That doesn't exist anymore. What matters is what is. What are we doing now to be present? Because you're the constant in this equation. And so how can we make this memorable by just being present?
I think the the storyline is that there is no story that we're holding on to,
Right.
right? Something I've been looking at a lot is it's really easy to get trapped in that story of both you and mom could have been like, oh, well, this is my Thanksgiving, or, or just be guarded that this is our Thanksgiving together. But, the egos could be involved. And we've done it for 4 years now where we've had the whole family there. But even this time was different because we went over to Alyssa's and it was in a different environment and different house and, making sure everyone's present still, right? And I think the biggest thing that we've all felt is everyone wants to be there, even if it's still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
So, like you said perfectly, normally it would just be easier just to divide and conquer, but not easy in between the details of it all. And so with us being able to go on hikes, us being able to go ice skating, and then us doing dinners together, we're pretty much with each other along every big event,
Yeah. So what was interesting is, after, I've been very honest about this, prior to this 2 sequences between you and your sister coming to town and spending the week together, I was very honest with you before that I would go through these crashes, right? And these highs and these lows when you guys came in town, because all of a sudden I've had this endorphin of, we'll call it love for the sake of a word, attention, love, dopamine, because you're in town, your sister's in town, and we're sharing these memories. So I think it spiked up because I'd only see you for a couple of days, right? And then I do my own thing and it spike up again. And then, does that make sense? And I noticed that these 2 last times, there was zero spike and there was zero down. And I think what I really came across with is because I'm okay with how authentic I am showing up. I'm really comfortable with being around your mom and Eric, and we've developed a friendship there that's been really unique, as we'll call them exes. She's my ex-wife, she's your mom, and then throwing the dynamic of you in what we're doing. There was no spike. Matter of fact, it was actually a relief. It was like when you left, it was like, okay, I got I got 5 full days. I got whatever 6 days. And I remember the night, what night was it? It was, it was one night we hung out and you guys, oh, it was the first night, Monday. Cause we were all hanging out when you guys came in, and I I left, and I probably could have came over your house and hung out a little bit, but I knew I was going to see you the next day. So there was less of me of having this FOMO or this being left out or not being enough, because I was like, I ain't tripping. I went home, had a great sleep, because I got to get I'm in this place of, I know that I'm going to see you the next day. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, but there was a lot of ease and less competition and less me. It was more like, great, go spend time with your mom, have a good time with her, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. There's this attachment to
everything. Yeah, attachment. There you go. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing that we felt throughout this whole week. It felt very light. But yeah, I guess just running off the highs and stuff like that of this week, Christmas is already around the corner again. We're talking about that too beforehand, and I'm excited for us to share it with Kaylee.
Yeah.
And she's wanting to, be with family again, because it's been a long little hiatus for her. So it's going to be interesting how that changes, because we'll probably switch back and forth ahead of time. And, Christmas has been a little different too, where we actually do switch households. So that'll be interesting to kind of feel and play as we go. But I guess, where do you think we'll ever be able to do like a Christmas together? Do you think that's it's just a different thing? Is it even worth wanting to explore that down the line?
I'm so glad you brought that up, bro. My question is, why not? I mean, bro, think about this. Thanksgiving Day, I went to your mom's for brunch. We hung out, and then we all caravaned to Alyssa's house.
Mm-hmm.
Never happened before. So I think it's more of, I'm all for it. Why not?
Mhm.
But that would be something that I think that we're pushing the envelope to where, is that a comfort level of your mom and Eric? Are we pushing that envelope? Are they ready for that? See, because it's just me.
Right.
But there's something about Christmas that, because Dylan's 16 and he's still a young man, and there's some traditions there that they developed. And so I don't know the answer to that. That's a great question. Again, maybe not, again, I think what we have to kind of explore is, how do you want that to look? Because you and Kaylee, because specifically there's been a tradition of waking up and doing presents and and stock, all the things that we do, right? So is that going to look different to where spending the night, no stock? How's that going? So I think it's something to talk about, and I'm open to it all. Love to see you the whole time you're here, not have one special day. Love to have dinner with everybody. I think that would be, if we could figure out how to make that work. Again, I thought Thanksgiving was phenomenal. Just imagine what that could create down the road, because we're also have another variable. We have Alyssa and Michael. We don't know when that day is going to be. We haven't really figured out the 26th, the 25th. So I think because we have these unknowns, it's even better if we could do it to make it work. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think it's something worth talking
Yeah.
about.
Traditions are interesting. We talked about it last time, where we're in this new territory. I think it would be cool eventually, as the families develop and grow, to all have like a big Christmas together. I think that's knocking on the door. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know about this year or not. Definitely something to look forward to in the future, because I mean, I guess even Kaylee is kind of an unknown for next year, and figuring out what is most important to us as a family. Is that even possible? I don't know yet, because it's so cherished. Christmas has a different magic.
Yeah. So what about you? What's your feeling on it? Do you think it's something that you'd be interested, or do you think it'd be something that you think could happen?
I think it could happen. I know, just my assumption is it would probably have to be at mom's, just thinking about it, just knowing that she would want to have it there, just based off of her tradition. So I think if it were to happen, it'd have to be that. But I could see it coming in the next couple of years, if not this year. Probably like 2-3 years down the line, once Alyssa and Michael develop, their new baby and stuff like that too. So I think in the next 5 years, it's definitely foreseeable. I think that's a really easy goal to hit. But if not, like 2-3 years down the line.
What's interesting? I think what started all this dialogue is, I remember when Kaylee came in town, and something just hit me this past July. I remember texting her, or I don't know, we talked on the phone about 2 weeks before she came in. She goes, "Hey," I go, "Hey, listen, I know we're all going to be fighting for time with you, right? You're going to be here for 9-10 days, and there's a whole lot to do." And I said, "Just want to let you know, like, I don't mind if I don't have anything planned, but something we want to do and your mom wants to come, like, invite her. I don't care. Let's just all hang out." You know what's interesting? She said, she's like, "Mom said the same thing about you." And I just thought, I think that was what clicked for me. I was like, okay, so we're living two different lives, but we're thinking the same, because we have expressed the fact that it's better to spend time together, all of us, than to divide and conquer. Because what I've experienced, for example, we'll just take the ice rink, for example, right? When we went ice skating last week, even though I didn't go ice skating, you guys got there before me, I was still part of the process. I was still there, right? So I got to experience, take pictures, then we went to dinner afterwards, got something to eat. So I was still there, even though I wasn't spending individual time with you. I was still part of collective. So energetically, we were all together. I think that is what her and I have collectively agreed upon, that it's most important, is we would rather be in the room, in the arena together, right, than outside waiting to get in and slap hands and you're next. I think that's why it's really great that we're even talking about this. Who would have thought, Albert, who would have thought that the week of Thanksgiving, right, based upon the history, based upon the old memories, based upon the precedent that was set, after the divorce and all the shit that was going on, and then what I went through and put you guys through, and then that we would spend the whole week in the same room, and then we'll talk about this, and then go hang out on a Friday night and go see a band together, right? For me, that's just mind blowing.
I know it's just easy. It's
Yeah,
nice. I feel like it was just so simple. Everyone wanted to just wanted to just have that ease. I feel like for so long we were just wanting to. We missed that family element where it wasn't. It's just something bigger than us now. You know, at a certain point, it's
yeah,
just like who cares? Like let's just have it. You know, we have our tradition now where we want to grow as a family. We want everyone to feel included, but we also want to make it feel meaningful too. Because I know, yeah. Like even the way that we carried on about like going to Alyssa's this year, it seemed like everyone was wanting to pitch in. They knew the drill, but we made it fun. It didn't feel robotic. And
yeah,
then when we're at dinner, it was almost nice that Alyssa's was a little bit smaller because we were almost
yeah,
more open to talking because everyone was in the same room, you know. And yeah, it's just been nice.
yeah.
I really enjoyed it the last this time. So yeah. I think for Christmas, the more I'm thinking about it too, honestly, we have to open up the dialogue, but I think I think for me and Kaylee, it'd be really special for us one day to have that together time so that we could feel like we're part of one big family again.
I think let's figure it out.
Yeah.
And whether it is or isn't, it'll be more cohesive than it was in previous years. So whatever that looks like, we've already set the precedent.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. We talked a little bit about, because I'm really curious about you, because you've been open about just when we went through the divorce, about how you kind of withdrew, kind of how you were so, I would say, resentful, angry. All these things were going on as a young 17-year-old man, and you moved away, and for a lot of different reasons, you got to build yourself into who you are. You mentioned that you talked to your men's group a little bit about what transpired. So I'm just curious, so I can hear you. What was your reflection or big takeaway from last week that inspired you, or just helped you heal a little bit?
I think for me, I just took a lot of time off from work, from everything else. We were just there with the family. It's easy to go in our industry, and still got what I needed to get done for the most part. I think there was so much newness with, you know, like Michelle coming into the category. Nicole was here, and it was just really special to feel like everyone was there to play their role,
Yeah.
and it didn't feel like there were people stepping on each other's toes. It
Yeah.
felt like, you know, we were just wanting to just enjoy each other's company. And so for me, it just inspired me to, as I'm preparing for 2025 right now, personally and in my business, it's like, okay, this is what we root for every year, is to just build a little bit more closeness, a little bit more community, and feel like everyone is wanting to be there, because it's, especially during the holidays too, because one of my men's group guys, he hosted a bunch of people that didn't have places to go.
Oh wow.
And apparently he's been doing this for the last 20 years, he said. And I don't remember him saying that before. And this is the first year that everyone that came, he didn't know.
Wow.
Usually they'll have some friends that are there, and so it's a mixed bag. So this year it just got me feeling like, okay, like for the people that don't have family, the people that don't have friends close by, it can be tough during the holiday season, especially. Because unless you are really secure or have something that you want to pursue the holiday times are, you know, more or less supposed to be a family. You know, it feels like it. And if you're going through divorce like you went to, or some of the other family members that we experienced with was going through divorce, and they didn't want to come because they probably missed their kids, or the family just felt different, right? We've personally been through something like that, so it felt a little bit more special in that way.
Yeah. So I'll ask it a different way. So years prior, let's say last year, for example. Actually, did you come up last year? You weren't here last year, huh? For Thanksgiving?
I haven't missed
Okay, okay.
Thanksgiving.
So Thanksgiving, right? It was a little different. I remember you come up, your mom for a couple of days, came to my house one day, and then we had Thanksgiving at
Yes.
my house. And then you guys took off, and then we went to Apple Hill together. So we spent the 2 days together specifically. I think Wednesday we went out, Axstone, we did something, right? So we normally do something like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm just curious now, when you came in town, like, did it even feel different? Like, I'm meeting my dad, Michelle's going to be there, and then did it feel interesting that first night, and then the second night, I was like, oh, we're doing this. When did it really click to you, like, oh, we're going to be spending the whole week together?
That's a good question. I mean, it didn't feel like we weren't not going to see each other, so I wasn't really overly thinking about that. It was just like, it just felt like it was almost like old times in a way, kind of.
Yeah, it did, huh? Yeah. Comfortable. It felt like it was normal.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was like forced, like we were wanting to like spend it to squeeze every juice. But like last year, I know it was different because Kaylee wasn't there for the first time,
Right.
so that was like what was really strange. Is it did feel like there was a part that was missing. This year it was different because we knew she wasn't going to come for a while, and then again, like we had something planned with every single person there, and then it was nice not having to go back and forth.
Yeah. Right.
Kind of what I was talking about last week was like the energy drain to really like get involved with you and mom individually. It felt like since I knew we were going to see each other almost equally, I could almost relax a little bit and just be there and want to, you know, just hang out with the family, hang out with like Alyssa, and really get to know her a little bit more. Because I think, again, I think I've told you too, like with my older sister, Lover, there's just been some times where we've had some struggles wanting to connect more. And I made sure to, like during those times when we did have long travel times, to spend time with y'all and get to know, like just to, you know, refresh that comfortability and just check in with each other, because it's easy to just have phone calls, but when we're actually with each other, those nice long car rides are, you know, it feels more personable because I want to connect with you guys, you know.
Well, that's an interesting take on that. I did not even think about that. That I know you mentioned the energy, but now I'm looking at it like, okay, so let's role play this back a little bit. Last year, you're up here for the 5 days or whatever, but there is an energy shift because I remember you drove your mom's house over here. I think we went to the gym or we did something, and there is an energy shift because then it's just me and you, not the whole fam. And so at Thanksgiving time, maybe there was also a feeling of, okay, so I got to connect with my dad. You know, I'm going to be with my mom a little bit. I got to connect with Alyssa. So this year, because you got a lot of fulfillment because we were with each other for 3 straight days, that you got to actually be more present, not only to Apple Hill with her, but also spend a little more time and have a little more conversation maybe at Thanksgiving than you would have, because you didn't have this feeling of needing to be obligatory to myself or to your mom. I never thought about that. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it just felt easier, and I think a lot of, I mean, specifically with her, she had to go a lot this year too. Just, you know, Michael being gone a lot, and so did we connect?
Oh, we're here. We're good.
Okay. For me, it was just like, I don't know. I feel like I could see her a little bit more too.
Yeah.
And maybe it was me. I'm not sure, but it felt like there was almost everyone was so comfortable with being themselves and showing up.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, this is our 4th year doing it, so maybe it's kind of like when you just practice so long, you're not really sure. It feels like you're going through the motions. It feels awkward, and then all of a sudden one day it clicks, right? Sometimes that just happens.
Yeah.
We just practice, and it's just another event that we want just to have everyone there. So yeah, I didn't really think about it at the time. It just kind of felt like, yeah, we're here. We want to just enjoy the small little moments that we have in between. And Apple Hill, I think Apple Hill was really fun because it was nice to see Brielle kind of be the center of attention, but we could all live through her, you know, and it felt like that was a nice little way to end it. Yeah. Because everyone has had good memories there, you know, watching her. You were, I in the pony ride line, but it was cool watching her see a fish, and she wanted, like, because there's a pond, right? And so someone caught a fish and it was holding the line, and she was like super intrigued because she's like, I know it's a fish, but why is it there? And then ended up touching it because she was wanting to, she was
Oh,
so
wow.
flop, you know?
Cool.
And
That's
so
cool.
we were just like, yeah, you can touch it if they're okay with it. And the people were like, come on. So she was like super intrigued by it,
Yeah.
and it was just fun watching her, you know, being so curious with the world.
Isn't that interesting, bro? Like, think about this, you know, again, to, I think the big thing that I've learned is if we hadn't come together, like your mom and I specifically, to be okay in each other's presence and put our egos aside, we don't know what experiences we were missing, right? Maybe something as little as that, right? And then also, you know, what's interesting also is things are happening for a reason. Michael wasn't there, so you got to actually have the interaction with Alyssa by herself. Not that it wouldn't be bad or worse, or better or worse if Michael wasn't there, but because he wasn't there, then it was just that you guys got to just talk, right? And that's what I got to experience again with this past year when Michael was in the academy. I got to be at her house every week, and that allowed me to get closer to her and also to Brielle. So I don't, for one minute, bro, I don't think for 1 minute that everything that's happening is not divine intervention, and or I don't want to say manifested, but it's come together because we're doing the right things. We have great intentions. We really do have the best of intentions. And I think there needed to be some massive failures that happen and some lessons to learn in order for us to get this, because now I can't speak for you, but I have an appreciation even more of just going to Apple Hill and understanding we only have 3 hours together, 4 hours, and that's it. So let's just go enjoy every moment. Even when I was in line at the pony ride, dude, I wasn't fucking enjoying it because I got to be there, or else I'd be home by myself doing something different.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot more gratitude, a lot more appreciation, a lot more authenticity, just being present. So that's what I'm feeling because what we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's a good point where you said, like, even in the small moments where it feels like we're not directly included, it's still a blessing to be there. And that's why I wanted you to kind of go and experience Brielle time with you too, because, you know, like, you just never know what she's gonna do.
Yeah.
She's just in this curious little stage right now, and we're so curious too because we're not sure like how we're gonna want to be there. And it was the fact that like Michelle's kids were there and we all made it work and we're just so invited. I think it's
Yeah.
I was actually talking with like Nicole about kind of your like her interaction with her mom too. That was interesting to watch just because everyone is buying in and you can see it in real time. Everyone's buying in. It's like it's a little trippy,
Yeah.
because like you're not even stressed about like how they're gonna react. It just is what it is, and it's like, and I think you mentioned it at Powerhouse, like it's not even up to you to determine if she's good or not. Like the family will kind of tell you, you know, and it's kind of interesting in one sense where it's like, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but also I know we've talked about it too, where like blood is not always thicker than water, where we shouldn't just rely on the family intervention. But there's this like yin and yang, like little thing, like it has to make sense for the family because it has in the past, which has created that chaos. But there has to be enough trust that you put the right decision out there too, to include someone like that, you know, into the family.
No, that's a great point. And before it was backwards. It was, I want to do what I want no matter what, regardless of this, that, or the other. And now I'm coming to a point to understand, because once you create something that's, I'll call it precious for the sake of a word, that preciousness can be gone that quickly. Envy, jealousy, envy, resentment, all these bad words can penetrate. These viruses can penetrate. And that's why I've been a real big proponent of, even you and I talking, like, it doesn't matter if it hurts my feelings. It doesn't matter if it quote unquote triggers me. It doesn't matter if if I'm gonna, have something of a reaction of what's being said, I want to know. I can't fix something that I don't know about. And if it for me not to have an opportunity to fix it means that there's lack of disrespect, there's no trust. So there's something about me that's causing that. So I've had to really, for me, be so ahead of the things that at times it might seem I'm overbearing, but it's on purpose, because the way I did before is I let things happen until they were too big, and then I couldn't do anything about it. And that's even a bigger shit show to handle than to be in front of it, right? So I'd rather, take it in the chin, and I'd rather just deal with the hurt now as opposed to dealing with stuff. So what I'm saying in layman's terms is I really love the trust in this and the conversations that we're all having. Even though they might be uncomfortable, even though they might be revealing, is they're at least happening, and there's no stone unturned. There's some things that still need to get fixed, and still things that we're still struggling through, because there's always going to be growing pains with different people entering our lives. But overall, because a family is becoming cohesive, anybody that enters the realm now has to buy into the fact that this is what we're doing. That's why, for you, whoever you're in your life or my life, they have to understand that when you're in town, right? And I've dated women that didn't understand that. When you're in town, out of 365 days, you're here for maybe 20 at the most. You're going to get 20 days with me, whatever's available. And those other 345 days that if I'm dating someone, you can have those days, but I'm going to be with this person. You can come along with me. And some people reacted differently than others. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been but before I was nonchalant about it. I didn't have standards before, barrier or boundaries. Now I do. That this is my family, and your mom is part of my family, like I've said before. So is Eric. We're all family until we're not. And so I'm going to protect that.
Yeah, and you said it beautifully. It's going to, whoever we all bring into the family, it's going to be up to us to communicate how important this is to them, and is this going to jive with the whole connection piece that we're trying to fix. And if it's not, then we have to, one, communicate that with everyone else, because that's how we've been successful. And then two, if it isn't, then we have to then decide, like, is this the direction I want to go? Because if not, there's family members that I'm still kind of confused on how I want to interact with, because I know, like, me and you are so close,
Right.
And
right.
Is that important to me to want to have some of those relationships?
Right.
I don't, and like same with mom, like some of her family members as well. Like if they're not interacting with her or you, is that important enough to want to have them in my life? That's an interesting question to have, because a lot of times it's like, well, they haven't done anything directly to me, but this person is also the second hand. That person is really important to me, like you or mom, right?
Right.
Or like, so for me, that's been a struggle too. Is like, is that something or someone that I want in my life because they're not jiving with you?
Or I have an invitation for you. Or tell them what you want. For example, we won't mention any names, but hey, so-and-so, I care about you, and, you're this person in my mom or dad's life, and we're doing some really fantastic stuff. And love for you to be a part of it, but you got to fix this. Maybe there needs to be a conversation you need to have with that person. Not you, but that individual, right? The relative. Maybe you should talk to him. Maybe you should talk to her. Maybe you should try to squash this. And put it on them. Because if that's important to you, Albert, then they're either going to do something about it or they're going to avoid you. And then now you know how important that relationship is. And they're showing you by their actions, not their words. That's what secure people do, is we have conversations. So if there's a need that you want, this is how we're going to fix it. This is how you can be a part of it, and let that person either hang themselves or swing to where they got to go. And I think that is what our families, your moms and I we've missed is that we're so easy to discard as opposed to here's what I need from you to fix this and then move forward, as opposed to you're out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of it. Your mom's guilty of it. You're guilty of it. This is just another avenue. I just thought about this right now to where it doesn't have to be that way, but it may be that way based upon that individual you're going to speak to potentially, of putting the rubber where the rubber meets the road. And my gut feeling, these individuals, my gut feeling is they will run away from it.
Yeah.
It's too hard to have a conversation. I'm saying that with in tongue in cheek, by the way, but I'm just saying it's okay to have the conversation because now you're putting it on them as opposed to, you see the difference? You're putting it on them as opposed to what do you have to do? No, this is what you got to do. Now we can be inclusive. Until then, this is not going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so prompting the conversation to be had too.
Yeah.
It seems like just not sweeping stuff under the rug.
Yeah.
And I know I'm good at that because I like to see the bright side of people.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. The challenge with that is at times is when you see the bad side of that people, then there's like this guilt, like, oh my God, I wish I would have known or not been so blinded by. There's all these things that we do individually to where we tear ourselves down. I've just learned as I've gotten older, and this is just in the past few years, by the way, dude, is give an example, right? I think I've told you this before in the loan business. I learned this about 12 years ago. About 10 years ago. One of the best lessons I've ever learned in the business. I was always that guy where we got into a loan. I always felt pressure that I have to get this loan done. Let's say it's 21 days. I got to get it done 20 days. I'm pushing everybody. And I had this one client would be like, I'm chasing their stuff and they're not getting their stuff. And then we don't close on time. We close on 22 days. I still look like an asshole because we're 1 day late, right? This might as well do a 30-day contract. So my boss told me, he's like, hey, bro, it's your fault. I go, what do you mean it's my fault? He's like, the clients aren't doing what I'm asking them to do. He goes, because you're not pushing them hard enough. I'm like, oh, because I don't want conflict. So here's what I want you to do. The next time that happens, if your client is not responding, you're getting what you need now, you write an email and you say, your file is on hold. And you email everybody in the transaction, the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the client, title, escrow, everybody, and you just let it ride. And I guarantee you within 3 hours, you'll have everything you need.
Yeah.
The first time I did that, within 30 seconds, I got a call from the agent. Wait, what are you missing? What's on hold? What are you talking about? I go, yep, Johnny hasn't sent me this. I'm on the phone now. Johnny calls me. Hey, you didn't tell me it was that urgent. I go, I've been bugging you. Get it to me within an hour. I stopped taking the shit and the pressure, and I started putting it on everybody else. So my new MO in life, now that was 12 years ago, but I'm revisiting now, is like my MO now in relationships, with personal and with family, is I'm going to put it on you to make your decision how you want to be in my life. I'm no longer going to take the brunt of your bullshit or what you're giving me. This is what I need. And I just learned this in the last couple of years of how to do that. And it's really hard but it's also freeing and refreshing because now I'm no longer feeling that anxiety of making a decision for somebody. I'm putting it on them.
Yeah. It's crazy how much we let other people treat us, I think it's just what I'm imagining myself now is like I've let a lot of people, dictate how the relationships go. Just because I don't put that boundary wall up. Like we were actually having a conversation yesterday with kind of having the open-mindedness and like having the decision to be from your heart, but also having a boundary up and saying, no, like that's too far, or no, this is my boundary, but you still have enough of an open heart to have that conversation, but still put the wall up. And that way you're not fully guarded, but you're still willing to be open and mold as needed. But if they're not going to respect that boundary, it's not going to benefit anyone because both sides are going to feel resentful, right? And I don't know, it can be challenging to do that because like for me, someone that doesn't want to make someone feel upset, I try to be overly empathetic, and that costs me an arm and a leg, right? When it doesn't have to cost me anything, right? I just express it up, be upfront about it, and we can both, win off of this rather than me feeling like I got to tug you along and pull you, and it's just dead weight, you know, for the entire transaction in this case, right? And that's actually really interesting that you did that. And do you communicate with people like that ahead of time? Like, hey, I'm gonna do this if this doesn't happen. No, you just
No,
fell
not
in.
anymore. What I'll do is, you know, I'll be honest with you. Hey, listen, you know, I'm waiting for this. I ask for everything up front, but it rarely happens anymore. By the way, I think that my approach is a lot differently, and I ask for so much stuff up front now. So, but if I ever do that, sometimes people on vacation, they don't tell me or how they communicate. But if I'm really missing something, they'll do it. But I rarely do it now. So it's just amazing. You know, I think my demeanor's changed as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you brought up a good point. You know, what you can't, let's say, for example, in your case, you're talking to a family member you want to talk to. What you can't predict, you might have all the great intentions. You don't know how they're going to respond.
Yeah.
They might respond, oh, I'll never do it unless she does it or he does it, or you don't know what they did to me. Now you get involved in the story, right? That story is the victim story as opposed to really hearing what you just said. And that's a risk there too, because now you're getting sucked into the story, right? Of their validations of where they're at and their feelings, and they're feeling unheard and unseen. Yeah, it's not straightforward and it's not simple. I mean, it's simple, it's not easy. I think that's a big point is like, and conversations are hard. That's why conflict is hard, but it's needed. And sometimes it's better just to avoid it. So yeah, there is, again, the why I'm just stressing it is it depends on how important that relationship is to you. If it's like, hey, I really care about you. You've been a part of my life for years, but this has to get resolved, or I got to make, you know, do my piece, or maybe you don't say anything. I don't know. That's an interesting predicament you're going to be in, conundrum, because you ultimately have to decide what's going to be best for you. Or you maybe just see him once a year and you call it a day. It all depends. I know for me, what has happened is my friend group has shrunk a
Yeah.
lot, and so are my relationships. I only have a few relationships, and I'm okay with that. So it just depends. Maybe silence is the best answer. Maybe, you know. So I don't know what the actual real answer is, other than I'll say it this way, bro: is people got to make their own bed. They got to make their own bed. People know when they did wrong,
Mm-hmm.
dude. People know what they did wrong, and their avoidance is just the answer of how they really feel. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, we'll just keep, you know. Another question I have for you is, now that you've seen what can be, what other things do you think can evolve from us spending vacations to, I'm sorry, holidays together, and these times that we're doing? What are some things that you would like to see in the future? So I know as a dad, and potentially your mom would know as well.
I mean, vacations will be like you mentioned that right there. I think vacations will be really cool down the line, um, as we continue that trust with each other.
Yeah,
It's going to take a lot of openness for
yeah,
that, just because that's even more time. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's it's seemingly extra time that's not really there, right? That's not, that extra space is going to be given to everyone else too, and time,
yeah,
money, and energy are involved rather than just energy. You know, for the most part in general. Um, I think that's going to be a step. I think Christmas would be cool just because we already have the time together
yeah,
there. And these next couple of years, you know, we've been chatting throughout this 12 months of us putting together the legacy project. Is the families are changing. The family is growing. The family, I mean, we are literally growing in a couple months.
yeah,
um, and I think as me and you and Kaylee, you know, have our relationships that we have, you know, with our intimate relationships as they grow or whatever happens with that, we'll really see where it takes off, because we'll see if those extended family members want to be a part of that too, because that'll also dictate who's involved and who's not,
yeah,
and how it looks. Just because then there's a little bit added pressure from the external, and so I'm looking forward to it with myself, because I think it'll challenge me to really show, not just tell, what our family is doing. I think what I've learned from you in the last couple of years with the relationship that you've been involved in is it's easy to tell. It's easy to be like, hey, this is what we're doing. And sometimes it's the person too, right? That's a factor, but also just bringing them in and not forcing them, but understanding that we have to show them what it's about.
Yeah.
And if we just project onto them, it's going to be intimidating because they have their own triggers too.
Yeah.
So it's going to be my job, it's going to be your job, it's going to be Kaylee's job, my mom's job, Melissa's job to figure out how does that equation work. So it's going to be different, but you know, every year is a little bit different, and that's okay.
No, yeah, you know, and I agree with you. You know, I like to see a vacation, and you know, I don't think we need to do everything together, right? Because we have different lives, but I think that the more that we can do as a family grows, because you're going to have a family someday, and I think just building a foundation of, I'd love to call your mom up sometime and say, hey, Eric, I'm going to be in LA. You guys want to join me? I'm going to come hang out with Albert. Does that make sense? I'd love to see that. Hey, I got us tickets to the LA Laker game or whatever, right? Hey, come join us. We're almost there, right? It's just a matter of doing it. Just like I think it was a stretch for me to even invite, hey, let's go see this band this night. Now, I think because we saw a band with Kaylee when she was here, the precedent was set, but I'm the one that invited. Your mom had said, hey, there's a thing going on, you want to join us? And so I'm like, yeah, but for me to put that out there and then the 6 of us go out was really unique because it was the first time we've ever done anything like that. So that was a little, I was just sitting back and just taking it all in because we were all having a great time. And just, we got to go, I think us going to the speakeasy before was really great just to kind of get the energy going. And then we hung out a little bit. And so, yeah, I'd like to see, I am so, I would say, not overwhelmed, I would say in awe of just where we've come so far. And the amount of time it was actually relatively really quick. So what that tells me is that it's always been there, but timing and trust and just those two things that weren't in place yet. And I think through time, through timing, through trust, through seeing how we are all interacting with each other, it's more comfortable because we are showing that we're making an effort with our actions, not our words, of how we're conducting ourselves individually together, with you guys together, and then collectively, there is the one word that comes up is there's a friendship. We all have a friendship. You're my kid, you're my son, but you're an adult. Your mom's your mom. But there's a friendship that's different that makes it fun. And that's what I enjoy the most is we're able to do it without just the past is the past. I don't remember half the shit that we did anyway. So I'm just enjoying it, man. It's having a lot of fun with you guys.
So just thinking we have 4 weeks left of the year. Not getting too excited about next year, but just because I don't know where our next conversations are going to be at. But what do you think? What do you think next year is going to look like for us in this conversations that we want to include, and how does that fit in with the family? Like, how do you think we're going to be able to evolve just between me and you?
Well, honestly, you know, I know your mom said she didn't want to come on without her words, but I'd love to have her on. I'd love to have your sisters on. I'd love to have the communication and get their feedback and just really show, because right now it's the Albert and Albert show, right? But I'd love to get the perspective of even Michael and how they feel about the changes, because I know he's made a lot of change with his family. And I just think there's so much that's being unsaid through words because they can't speak for us, is just where we're at and how much, I'll call it word love, how much love we all really have because we want it. What your mom and I really built is we actually built a really great foundation. I think that's where we're able to come together as quickly. What got in the way was the torment of the divorce, of how we handled it, the carnage that was left over because of feelings and unresolved conversations, our immaturity with each other, our immaturity as adults, the wounds we had, all those things came into play to where this, from 2000, I'm going to say 2011 to 2022, that's 11 years. 11 years of stuff going on, to where we had the previous 13 years as a foundation. If that makes any sense at all. Okay.
Yeah.
So that allowed us to where I think that 11 years as a bump, we're going to look back to where we're going to have cumulative 30 years of great connection. But that 11 years we needed to fix the stuff that was causing everybody chaos.
And there's so many, I agree with you. I think the foundation of the family was there, of how we wanted to bring the closest there.
Yeah.
I think there's the chaos was also how to be, you and mom having to be able to be individuals again, you know?
Yeah.
There's something to be said about letting go of all the family ties and finding the individualism. You're 10, 15 years older now, or almost 20 years older, I guess. There's a lot there too, where it's not just the system, it's the individual that is completely transforming. And then me and Kaylee were teenagers, you know, so there's a lot of like blossoming that's happening. And so I think looking forward for us, it's going to be cool, because I think Kaylee might be coming closer. We never know, right? But that's going to be something that we're going to do and feel that tight family niche that we did feel like. But now there's going to be a lot. I think this year is going to be interesting, because I think we'll get a lot more family time in the latter half of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Yeah. Yeah, man, we got about a couple minutes left. So what's your big takeaway from this last week, and just kind of talking about this in the open now?
You just never know that where our family is going to take it, because we've bloomed so much. I think it was just really incredible that we were able to come together. Everyone was so welcoming of each other, and I want us to continue to really just build our new traditions. They're very similar to the old ones. It's just we have new roles that we're playing, you know. So just having me and Kaylee and Alyssa being adults now, and the little babies coming up, I think it's time for me, my sisters, and you and mom and Eric, and to just take more responsibility and just know that we are making that impact. So I think that the impact is the impact. The impact is like what we've created throughout this year.
Yeah, you know, I will. I'm going to give Eric a lot of credit, because I can imagine being in his shoes, right? I feel it sometimes, by the way. That's another conversation we can have. But he's been really great to take it all in, because he's had some stuff with his family, and to be able to be a part of what we created. And now it's a blended family. Like, that's why I said this is us. This is like the perfect name. Like, this is who we are. And this past week, man, I got to tell you, man, I would have never ever thought that I'd be on a couples date with your mom. Right? But we did. It was fun. I never thought that I'd be at her house during Thanksgiving morning. I never thought that. The other things, yes, having dinner, stuff like that, but we're getting really intimate, and that just means that there's a lot of healing going on. And so whoever you are out there watching this, I know I hear it all the time. I was actually ran into a friend of mine. I won't name his name. Ran into him this past weekend, and he's having stuff with his mom, his ex-wife and stuff, his kid's mom, and there's always this, and he's like, I can't. How do you do it, Albert? How do you do it? And I go, trust me, dude. It's the hardest thing you can do, but it's not about you anymore. That's what gets in the way. It's not about you, mom and dad. It's not about you. You created these individuals. They deserve the very best from you, not the worst from you, because you can't handle your emotions. They came in this world with zero say, and yet you're punishing them for your discretions. Mm-hmm. You're punishing them for your bad choices. And if we can come together and do this, trust me, if you looked in this cesspool bowl about 8 years ago, you would have said there's just no way. Or even 5 years ago. That was an awful Thanksgiving for me. It was right after the breakup and stuff was going on. And so we are so thankful you're here joining us, because it is repairable. Family is repairable. Those relationships are repairable if and only if you first take responsibility for yourself, surrender, own your own shit, and that individual accepts who you are, and they come in with their surrender, responsibility, and owning their own shit. That's only how it works. This is how it's worked for us. Everybody individually has put their ego to the side and have expected everybody to bring their very best. That's what I love about you and your sisters. Everybody has expected, this is how we act and conduct ourselves. And so we thank you for joining us. Episode 44. We got a lot more. I know we're talking more intimately today, but it doesn't. We don't know where this is going. We just want you to be a part of this, because there are so many families right now with politics. They don't want to hang out together, with disruptions in the family, with divorces. All this bullshit gets in the way of what's really important to you. Do you really love these people? Then show them. So we're here every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. PST, and we have a great guest potentially next week. We won't say anything until it comes on, but we're just going to continue sharing from our hearts and sharing what worked for us. And it does work, but you have to put the work in. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. God bless. And for Albert and I, we'll see you soon.
Thank you.